Hello and welcome to WOLFpak TV. We are going to have a great show today. I am so excited because we have the one and only Monica Brant. Round of applause. Monica, everyone knows Monica. Monica is a absolute fitness legend icon. She has done so much for our fitness industry. She has been in the industry for how many years now, Monica?
Oh, just a few.
Just a few. We don't need to talk about that.
Maybe 30.
We're going to dive into her whole story, but how are you doing today, Monica?
I am fabulous. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I should say tonight because it's what, 8 o'clock where you're at?
7.
7 o'clock where you're at? Yeah.
Perfect. It's a perfect time.
Thank you for joining us. I can't wait to dive in. And of course, we have our fearless leader here, the owner of WOLFpak. We have Michael Henderson. And if you don't know his story, he started this whole company just 3 years ago out of his garage. And it's a crazy, awesome, booming story. And how are you tonight, Michael?
I'm doing excellent, Wendy. Thank you for putting this together. Monica, thank you for sharing time with us and making this a special memory here.
Yes. And Michael being here is super relevant for several reasons. Number one, obviously this is his brand, but another thing is, Michael is a big fan of the bodybuilding industry and has been for a lot of years. And he was around when, Monica was, winning shows and winning the Olympia and doing everything that she was doing in that era. So I think that, it would be interesting and really awesome to hear both of you guys tell your stories about, the industry and all of the eras. So Monica, let's start with you. So go ahead and just dive right in and tell us about, the start of your journey in the fitness industry, because people may have heard it before, but it always is fun to hear it from you again.
Okay. Well, let's see. One of the funnest stories that I think, a couple of things, like just really going back because it's kind of ironic. When in my senior year of high school, 1989, I had asked my mom if I could go to the gym. To a gym. I had a coach that ran track with, and I guess a trainer at a gym, or he worked at a gym or something. I went to my senior year, I went to a private Christian school here in San Antonio. I lived out in the country outside of San Antonio, so it was quite a drive in. But I remember the coach telling us students, if anyone wanted to come to the gym, he worked at one of the gyms. I had never been in a gym outside of a little gym in the school. Like, I didn't know anything about gyms. I just was like, well, sounds interesting. I'd like to go check it out. My mom's like, no, you're not allowed to go to the gym because that's where men pick up girls. So I was like, okay. So I never got to go to the gym in high school. Yeah. So the next year I go up to Missouri to go to college. I'm riding horses. I know a lot of people don't know about my background on horses, but I go up there with a scholarship for equestrian division of the school. And it's a private women's college, and the men's college is nearby. And so in between they have a big gym because it's in Missouri and there's a lot of cold weather there. So they had a big indoor gym and indoor like track. And so I used to go and do workouts in there. And I remember just going through the equipment in this little gym and just trying to figure it out. Like, I didn't really know what anything did. I didn't have anybody there showing me anything. I was just like, it was old, and a lot squished in a very small place. So I was just going through all of these machines, trying to figure them out. And then I ended up having different women coming in there and asking me what the machines did, how to use them. So I ended up working with people at that time in the little gym. So it's kind of fun. Fast forward, get into, the next year, back in San Antonio. I couldn't end up going back to that college. My parents split and there just wasn't the funds to get me back there. My scholarship wasn't enough to cover the whole thing. So I was kind of now on my own out, my first year out of that. Well, so this is 1990. 91, I guess. 1991, I guess, was my first year. So I ended up going to a community college in San Antonio. I met a cute guy there. He was a trainer at a gym, and he invited me to the gym. So I went and I started working out there with him.
Yeah.
And then we had been looking through a magazine, and sure enough, there was the Fitness USA competition. Marla Duncan had just won. So this was the very beginning of the year 1991.
Yeah.
So she won for 1990, magazines showing her stuff. I knew nothing about it, but I thought this looks interesting. So I ordered the VHS tape.
Yeah.
And I invited my family over to my apartment, and we watched it. And I said, I think I'm going to try this. I mean, that was kind of as nuts and bolts of me, saying what I wanted to do. And there's so many little interesting stories because, I didn't know what I was going to do back then too. Interesting enough, Marla Duncan won. She had a super cute physique. There were 3 rounds.
Yeah.
The round, a routine, and they had a speaking round where you wore a gown.
Yeah.
And it was like a pageant. It was called the Fitness USA. So on stage in your gown, you had to say within 45 seconds your philosophy on fitness, or your philosophy of fitness on, so I had actually had a lady that ended up helping me. She helped me get a gown. She helped me learn. She was a pageant director. So
you had to learn gymnastics and everything because you didn't have a gymnastics background, right?
Well, right. I did not have gymnastics background. Yeah. So that year in 91, Marla had won the show. Mind you, she did jumping jacks on stage. She might've done a back walkover. She did some kind of like a little aerobic easy routine. She won with a really simple routine is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So when I saw her routine, I'm like, I can do all those things. So I ended up working with an aerobic coordinator or aerobic instructor for my very first competitions, 91. Yeah. And then in 93, I ended up getting to work with the San Antonio Spurs silver dancer choreographer and leader. She had her own studio in San Antonio. So she actually helped me learn a little bit about dance and a cool little routine. I wish I probably have an old VHS tape somewhere of it. But one of the things, Wendy, I didn't have formal routine or gymnastics training, but I had taught myself when I was 14, I taught myself round off back handsprings, standing back tucks, round off back handspring, back tuck, front flips, all of these things from my trampoline to the ground.
So you sound already like a WOLFpacker because this is literally how Michael's smiling. This is literally how we do everything here. I mean,
make it
Michael has a saying he says FIFO.
No, it's FITFO.
Oh, FITFO. Okay, Michael.
What is FITFO?
What is FITFO?
Yeah.
I respectfully say this to you. It's called figure it the fuck out.
Well, that's what I did.
So you want to achieve something and you literally just figure out how to do it. And it's like, it's so crazy how you can find so much success that way. People, they stress out so much about having, formal education and like learning everything by the book. And what, in my experience, and the most successful people that I have come across, are literally have such a similar story, right? I mean, wouldn't you agree, Michael?
Right. I mean, you don't need to know everything. You just got to know like where your vision is taking you.
Yeah.
And, just take applied action in every day. It's just like, you just small little accomplishments toward what your vision is. And eventually it starts to unfold, it starts to lay itself out to where you see the couple feet in front of you and you don't need to have the entire picture. I mean, it eventually comes around.
So true. So true. I'm remembering a story or an event that happened to me. So when I was working with that first choreographer here in San Antonio in 93, she had a nice little studio with a spring floor. And when I was in high school, I thought I wanted to try out for cheerleader. Okay. Like my high school years, so I went through pep squad my freshman year. My mom's like, sure, you can do that. And then I wanted to try out for cheerleader, and I thought, well, you have to be able to do all these tricks on the, on out on the field. So that's why I taught myself gymnastics.
Yeah.
And that summer, my mom gave me the option. We lived on 20 acres, and then we had horses, and I did horse shows and everything. My mom said, well, you can either try out for cheerleading, or you can do stuff with your horses this year, but you can't do both. What do kids do now? They try to do everything, right? So I said, well, I don't want to try out for cheerleader that bad. So I stayed with horses. But in 93, I had all of these. So here you see that I'm actually doing some gymnastic stuff with some form. When I first got into doing fitness, I had no form. I didn't know how to do a round off correctly, I just knew how to muscle my way around. So I had to relearn how to do things. And of course, then add all these tricks in, but later in my 20s. But in 93, my choreographer at the time, right before one of my competitions, she had me go down to a stage in San Antonio, and she wanted me to get on the stage and do my routine.
Yeah.
So this is just for practice before one of my shows. So we get down there, and it's kind of a dark environment. There weren't a lot of lights on, and it was literally just us. We got to go into this big theater in San Antonio and utilize the stage. So I had my trainer there, and she came with me. I think my mom came. I don't know. And sure enough, I'm doing my routine, and the light throws me off, and I end up landing on my head from a back handspring or a round off back handspring, something. No. And Wendy, after you're doing something like that, you're like freaked out, right?
Yeah.
Well,
it's happened to me before. I know.
Yeah. So we stopped the routine because I'm like, land on a hard surface.
Yeah.
Almost on my head. And then I'm like freaked out. So I'm like, okay, I couldn't even like do another pass in there. So I walked outside. There was a little patch of grass outside, and I went outside and got back to my roots doing gymnastics on the dirt, on the grass and the dirt. Like how I grew up doing it. So I did. Yeah. So I did that, and we decided let's just stop while we're ahead. We're not going to go back in there because I was freaked out about that stage now. Yeah. Fast forward. So that's in 93. Fast forward. I'm booked for an appearance in San Antonio. It must have been 97, 98. I don't know, one of those years. And I come to San Antonio, come home from LA to do a guest appearance at a bodybuilding show, showing what fitness is. Mm-hmm. And I had to do my routine, and it was that stage.
Oh no!
No. Okay. So at first I was a little freaked out by it because I hadn't been back on the stage since I almost broke my neck.
Yeah.
And I think what happened is I just got over myself, like what Michael just said earlier.
Yeah.
I got over myself, and I'm like, I got this. It's no big deal. I've been doing this for whatever. And I ended up acing my routine, and it felt good to get past that fear of that silly stage. But
what do you think about that, Michael?
I mean, it's a challenge that everyone has defined differently, but everyone comes across their obstacles. Everyone has their internal fears. I love that in a sense because it's just what keeps me going. And just you figure out how to overcome it. I think you have to overcome it mentally before you overcome it physically, and have the build of confidence and find a way to get reset. To Monica's point, like she went back outside in the grass and just got regrounded to her roots in a sense, which probably rebuilt her confidence level to where she could come back and just see what she had to overcome. And you probably felt even better after that moment than you did, from the previous ones.
Absolutely. Just it's so fun to just kind of reminisce about some of those kind of pieces of your puzzle that had that helped you get through the moment, and to feel like you said that confidence building,
But you have like the routines and like getting through those obstacles. I mean, all of that was there, but also I think that the biggest thing for you, Monica, is you found so much success off the stage. People gravitated to you for a lot of reasons. So How did that feel? You had some success on stage, and for all anybody knows, you won every Olympia of all time, but that's because people remember you for, just the impact that you had on the industry. So what do you think it was that made you so magnetic and create that off the stage persona that everybody really knows?
This is what is so neat is that I felt to move to California. I had my brother's roommate living in LA, and I went through, competing in the Fitness USA stuff, got to the 95, and then he suggested, my previous suggested, well, why don't you come out and, check out LA? And I did, and had some cool little opportunities there. And then he's like, well, why don't we get a bigger place? He was a mechanical engineer for AJ Foyt. So he was traveled all the time, but he was also like this immense, intense, and very intense bodybuilder guy who looked like he could get on stage at any time, but he was, just like all about the nutrition. So he was really intense. But anyways, I came and stayed with him. And I think the timing, I came and stayed with him, and then I moved in 95. I moved out to California, right? I knew 2 or 3 people, but the timing of the timing that I came out was really impactful because fitness just got started.
Right.
It literally had just emerged in I think 80. I want to say 87 might have been the first fitness competitions. So here we are. I started competing in 91, so not too many years later.
Right.
And here we are in 95, and fitness was just budding. Yeah. And we got out to LA. I knew 2 or 3 people out in LA. The first week I was here or there, I had met Jantana previously at one of the national shows when I did the Fitness USA, and had come in 9th overall. And there was 150 girls at that show. It was a lot, but Carol Simple had won, and Jan was her sponsor. And I met Jan, and I gave her one of my little cards, and I just said, hey, if you ever need a blonde fitness model, So she brought me in. So I guess my point is all of this was the fitness industry was just emerging.
Yeah.
And I was there in that moment when all of the photographers all were in LA. And there was literally only 4 or 5 of the really good ones. Yeah. And then you had some that they weren't contracted to a specific magazine. And then you had some that were contracted into like the Weeder publications or something, right? And I just happened to get, it's never just a happen. I know God puts us where he needs us. Times for us to grow, for us to be involved in something. And I just feel like God gave me that exact moment of time to be there and be one of the original only fitness girls who never did bodybuilding, but came in just for fitness. So the fans were looking for that person. Yeah. And, I think I mentioned this to you, Wendy, I was going through all my stuff recently, put everything in chronological order, all my covers, all my features, all of this stuff. And I found an old page from one of the magazines. Yes. That said, I was the original, very first IFBB fitness girl to be awarded an IFBB award. I was the first. Yeah,
you were the first IFBB Pro Carb recipient in the fitness division.
Yeah. And I didn't even know that. It was so funny. I didn't even realize that. Like
that's crazy.
It's like a world record that you didn't know you had. And like 1995, and here we are, 2024. And I found out. I was like,
that is honestly so crazy. I mean, I think that it's funny, but I feel like one thing that I gravitate to this type of energy, which is one of the reasons I gravitate to WOLFpak too, is, you're talking about meeting the moment with like a need that was in the industry, and it's kind of funny because that's how everything started here too. We, Michael, when he started this company, it was like, there was a need, I mean, the backpack bag world was kind of like a secondary, third kind of tier thing in a lot of companies. Nobody really put it on the front line. And it was a need in the industry, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like funny, like there's just the success pattern for, you know, the most influential, successful people is such a similar path. You know what I mean? I hope I told that story right, Michael. Did I tell that story right?
You said it right. Yes.
Okay, you're laughing at me.
I mean, I can touch on it. It's you know, I seen an opportunity where, you know, a lot of these brands had a bag, and it was their closet product. It was the product they had in their SKUs that no one talked about. And I decided to say, hey, this is going to be my front runner, and I'm going to make this my only product, and, you know, put so much hype around it and create so much marketing around it that it's, you know, it was an empty space that I seen, and I took advantage of it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I did it first, and that's all that
You
matters.
did it first.
Did it first, right? Yeah.
Monica, you know my story of how I came across you. I mean, we've talked about this, but your DVD, The Secret of Beauty, was, I mean, it was so, one of the things about that video, I think that was the most, my favorite part was when you did the photo shoot with your mom. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about this because honestly, like I still think this is such an awesome thing. So tell us about how that happened. How did you get the photo shoot with your mom? And did you get her in shape like this? Like tell us about this. What's the deal?
So what's so funny is my mom right here is probably a year younger than I am right now. So it's kind of interesting.
Really? That's
crazy. To see. I think she was 51 or 52 right here.
Uh-huh.
Well, this is leading into the 98 Fitness Olympia.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I didn't know I was going to win. I had no idea, right? You don't know those things. You're just getting ready. Well, in those days, there was always a lot of photo shoots and things that we were asked to do as athletes within the magazines or the photographers. So that's what we were doing. So Robert Reef, who's doing the photo shoot here, I worked with him every year throughout the year. Like we worked together a lot. He was a Weeder contracted photographer. And I think what happened is I just think I told him, my mom's coming in town and I'm probably 2-3 weeks here out of showtime. I don't remember exactly. Yeah. And I said, Mom's coming in town and she's in amazing shape. And he probably was like, well, let's just do it. Let's do a photo shoot together. And, you know, so Perfetto, the clothing we're in was a company called Perfetto. Right. And they sponsored me with clothes for years. And here's, of course, you know, Nancy Jambazian. Mm-hmm. And I have fun stories with Nancy that go back from 1994. She and I worked together. But yeah, so that was just a really awesome opportunity. My mom was all excited about what I was doing. Yeah. She always looked like a bodybuilder. You know, she was a horse trainer when I grew up out in the country. She knew that she was never in a gym. Not one time was she in a gym. She just was rock solid. Yeah, rock solid from her little dog Raina came with us.
You may have good genetics going on here, it looks like.
Yeah. So she was always in great shape. My mom always looked like, you know, killer body, abs like that, always. And of course, at this point in her life, she was an entrepreneur, business owner, not out in the barn and all of that anymore. So we got her working with the trainer here in San Antonio, and she was going, I think, 3 times a week to the trainer. And I gave her my diet, basically, that I was working on for my show. So she was pretty much on my same nutrition plan as we were. And I think she dieted for, I don't know, maybe 12 weeks as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then she ended up coming with me to France. I had sponsorships for her to fly with me because, you know, the show that year was in Nice, France. It was the last time that they had the Olympia in a different location.
Yeah.
Outside of the US. Yeah. So I got, I don't know if you know this, but I was the first pro to have a makeup artist backstage with me at any event.
That's a claim to fame.
Mm-hmm. And I've had makeup artists tell me, thank you for doing that because it created a business for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And Nancy was my first. I brought her into
Yeah.
the Fitness International in 97.
Yeah.
And the promoters were not very excited about it. And I had
Yeah.
to beg and plead.
Yeah.
And they said, well, as long as she helps everyone. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
So let's talk about how crazy these expos were, because Michael and I were talking about this the other day. And Michael, when you first kind of got into the bodybuilding scene, like tell us a little bit about your experience with, like, you went to the Olympia, you went to the Arnold, right?
Yeah, the Arnold was, more often than the Olympia. I didn't get to the Olympia until like 10 years later, when I was at
Yeah.
the Mandalay Bay for the first
Yeah.
time.
Oh, wasn't that great?
Yeah, and they did a little beach, meet the pros at the beach area. That was
Yeah.
super cool. But backing up, back in the early 90s, mid 90s, I was living just outside of Columbus, Ohio. And, I learned as a young man that the Arnold Classic weekend was just, downtown Columbus. And, back then, we didn't have phones. We didn't
Yeah.
have social media.
Yeah.
We had magazines, and I couldn't wait till the next Flex magazine came out, till the next Muscle and Fitness, Muscle Development, and I would just that was how we gathered information and got to see the people that we idled, and the people that we really wanted to become.
Right.
Is in these books and magazines, and I learned about the show. And it was just like a kid in a candy store. I was like, oh my Jesus, I can actually go meet these people.
Yeah.
And, it was just so surreal to just go there. Back then, it was just a different moment. I can remember that you could just look down the aisles. It would be shoulder to shoulder. And you just look and you're like, no, I'm not going down that aisle. And, I can remember too, Monica, we probably got pictures together. It's, I was going to try to dig them up real quick, but I remember you, and you would be, not sure what booth it was, but you just have magazines stacked all around you, DVDs, and, just, and that would be the moment. And there'll be lines, like literally lines to see Monica and all the other great people there at the weekend. But no, those are great memories. Something we can never get back, but
I know.
raised before cell phones, and we had to learn through magazines.
Yeah. I miss that. I wasn't even really a part of that era, but I have nostalgia for an era I wasn't really a part of, because I know I tell Monica this all the time, but when I look back at that time, I have this nostalgia for there not being phones, not being, and yes, it helps, a business so much to have all the social media, but it's so hard to connect to people now like you used to be able to, What do you think about that, Monica? I mean, experiencing the evolution of this all, like, how do you look back at it? How do you feel, and how do you feel about the future?
Wow. Well,
wow, I know. Wow. Right.
Wow.
Oh
gosh. First of all, Olympia, I think I competed in 9 or 10.
Yeah.
I've been to 20 of them, or 21, worked all of them. Arnold, the same thing. I got invited to 9 or 10 of them, and I only got to compete in 8 or 9 of them, because one year was kind of a weird political thing with the company I was contracted with.
Yeah.
Since the judges were placing me lower, even though I got invited to compete, they didn't want me to get on stage, because they felt like if I didn't get where they wanted me to get placed, I guess, or thought I should get placed, that it would devalue me. So it was kind of a weird place to be as an athlete. It was a very big company that I was signed with at the time. So it was kind of a weird place, because I wanted to get back on stage. I was like, why not?
Yeah.
Anyways, were so cool. I remember one of the very first ones I got to go Olympia. And I guess it was, I competed in 95, first Fitness Olympia, and I competed at that one. I got invited to that one. I think I placed 9th out of, there was year I moved to LA.
Okay.
There was so much going on that year. I did Kiana Tom's Flex Appeal. I won the Jantana.
Yeah.
And then the Olympia came up, and I was just drained. I was like, I traveled all around the country at that point, had been to Jamaica. It's like, I think the Olympia came around, I was so drained that year. But what happened for me that year is Bob Kennedy with Muscle Mag asked me to work in his booth. Okay. And he taught me what to do. Like, he made me 8x10s. Mm-hmm. They were just sepia tone, 2 different ones from Alex Ardenti. He showed me, how to, stand in the booth and sign my autographs. Yeah. And I made money. It was, cash. We used to sell that. He taught me how to do that, and he gave me the opportunity to do that. And so after that, it was like every time I would go to an event, I got to sell my stuff, right? So I ended up having, of course, tons of 8x10s to sell, the DVDs, I had a book, t-shirts, and I would have girls come help me in the booth because it was, there was so many people lined up. I mean, people would stand in line for 2 hours. You come up and buy my things, and I made like, sometimes I can make $6,000 or $7,000 in 2 days.
Wow.
Cash, right? Yeah. It was amazing. And I remember every time I would get a contract, the company started little by little making the athletes sign free pictures and give out free pictures. Cause now they, give out more free things. Or they had athletes that maybe couldn't sell their pictures very well. So they wanted to have free things to give out for the fans to come and see them. Oh, get free stuff. So every year companies kept trying to, get us to give out, I say us, free things. And I always made sure my contract said that I was still allowed to sell my items as well. Yeah. So that was, but it was so amazing to have fans come in, and, I never knew that was ever going to happen. Like I didn't get into competing. And the magazine whole thing was, of course, another like complete surprise to me. I didn't know magazine stuff. Yeah. When I moved to LA, I didn't know any of that. I had no idea. I thought I could go out there and, okay, maybe I would wait tables or, work for Budweiser because I was a Bud girl. Could maybe start training people. I didn't know what I was going to get in. I didn't know that any of that would happen. So what a honor. And it's so fun even to this day when I have fans, they show me their old pictures, Yeah. And like, look at the picture I still have of you. I was like,
I think it's funny because we think that, like guys are like into a girl on the cover of a magazine, but I think that the reality is, and I'm going to ask you about this, Michael, the reality is I think there are more females who are into like seeing you on the cover of a magazine. I think that guys are obviously into that, but probably more into like all like the supplement ads, which, women were in the supplement ads and everything. Cause I mean, magazines where you got all your fitness information. So Michael, tell me, what was your favorite magazine? I'll say in the 90s. Okay. And what did you primarily look at when you would get a fitness magazine?
My favorite magazine would be Flex. It's just the one that I just magnetized to. And, back then I'm just looking for like there you go. They were always great magazines. It would just be like trying to find one of my idol bodybuilders. What is their workout program, and I want to mimic that and, try to become, what they became. Right. That's that's what I'm flipping through. And, just trying to find the back then, you're thinking there's a secret, like this magical pill or something you can take and just turn into the people you see in the magazine. But, now we know, I mean, I relate the brand to the same thing. It's like they're the only secret is hard work, literally, and you get back what you put in. And the same thing with the brand at WOLFpak. And I tell the team this all the time, there is no magical success route that we can take. Right. We just have to put in the work. And I relate it back to bodybuilding. Like you get back what you put in through the weights, through the diet, through the training, through the rest and recovery. But I love those magazines.
This is an old school one I just found, a Muscle and Fitness. Mm-hmm. For everyone to understand, there was no social media. I mean, I keep saying that, I sound like a broken record, but I mean, wrapping your head around the fact that this is literally how you get your information on. There's no YouTube, there's no social media, there's no, I mean, you're going to these magazines to get information about how to train, how to eat, how to take supplementation, who to follow, and who you want to idolize. I mean, all of that is in the pages of these, you know, cover to cover, right? It's hard to comprehend this, you know. Now, Monica, I know you were in a lot of magazines, but okay. What about you? What was your, you know, what magazine did you really like, you know, that you were maybe not in? And what, you know, what did you typically go to magazines for? It's interesting for someone to ask you that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was in them all. I don't know.
Well, I'm for all of the in the fitness industry. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in all of them, so there wasn't one that I wasn't in. Goodness.
Well,
You
okay,
know?
let's say we're going to include the magazines that you were in, okay? Because I'm sure you probably got something out of the magazines that you were in too. What, like,
Yeah.
what did you enjoy about the magazines that you were in? You know, what did you get out of it the most?
Well, I mean, I went back in and I would read the other
Yeah.
articles around and the food, because there was so much food information. There was supplement, you know, science information, you know, body. And I was like, Michael, I like to see what other people were doing weight wise, you know, training wise. So, I mean, yeah, I definitely looked at all of them. You know, I loved the Oxygen magazine when as it evolved. I think Oxygen was really a great women's magazine.
Yeah.
I think for a little while, Muscle and Fitness, hers was also really good.
Yeah.
But hers always seemed to kind of, it just, I don't know if it got stuck kind of in that timing where, you know, Oxygen got so big, and then there's a couple of little ones that came out, and you had Muscle and Fitness. But I think, you know, one of the things that I was so honored by was I'll say my Muscle and Fitness single cover when I was on it all by myself.
Yeah.
I look back and I think there may by now, there may be 10 women that have been on the Muscle and Fitness cover by themselves out of all of these years since the 50s. I don't know. I think, you know, just a handful. So that one really was a special moment for me. And I always,
is that this one right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah. That one came out in 2003, right before the Arnold. I think they thought I was going to win that year. That was the right before the very first Figure International, because I was the first fitness professional to cross into the figure division.
Right.
And I think they thought I was going to win. So that was kind of a, you know, anyways, came in second, but it's okay. But that one was a really cool. And, you know, the specialty was, say for Oxygen, I knew Robert Kennedy really well. He treated some of us girls that he really respected. He treated us so well. And then I love the fact that I lived in LA and I could go up to the Weider offices and actually go into the office and sit and talk to the editor and the creative director. And I could go through all of my pictures within the Weider publications, and they would let me pull any picture I wanted to and do whatever I want, you know, sell them or whatever I wanted to do with them.
That's awesome.
This was one of my favorite routines. And look how simple my outfit is. Just like no glitter.
I love it. This was the Arnold you were talking about just now, right?
Yes. The 97 Arnold.
Yeah.
This was the,
and you took second at this one?
Yeah. Second. This was the year they had the speaking round. This is the year I had Nancy. The first year I had hair and makeup artist, and was the first one to bring that in. So that was Nancy with me. Whew, almost missed that one.
The cool thing about this is the kind of when your whole career was starting to really bud. So this is kind of like this is like the boom of, you know, Monica Brant.
Yeah.
And
I can hear my choreographer point, spot, and smile. She always said that point, spot,
In your
smile.
head.
I mean, because your track with me, you don't have to entertain anyone when you're running track. You just run, and you don't even have to look at anybody. You just are running. So I had to learn how to smile and point toes, and then try to keep all this. I was a little off there.
Don't look at that, Monica. You can't do that to yourself. You can't do that. No, I want to talk about something that's a little bit more difficult to talk about. I think it's important to talk about this because what people don't understand about being such an icon in fitness and evolving the way that you have is you get to a point where you eventually compete alongside some of some of the people who have looked up to you, right? And all of a sudden it seems to be different, right? When people look up to you and admire you, something I'm learning too myself, and then you go and you compete with them and you beat them, there's an energy shift, right? So tell me about that, because it's something that you have to have experienced, and I want to hear how you've gone through this.
Well, there was some really good experiences.
Yeah.
So, let's say for one, and I was at the Figure International, and I don't remember which year it was, but they started, the IFBB kind of got tired of seeing me, I guess, started placing me lower. Well, one year, it was right when Larissa came in.
Okay.
Reese.
Yeah, Reese? I think so. Yeah.
And she was so cute. Backstage, her English was really broken, but she was telling me backstage how big a fan she was of mine, and she was so honored to be competing with me. Well, she placed over me, and afterwards, she was so kind to me. Like, she came over and she was like almost in tears. She's like, she didn't think it was right. She was so upset that she placed over me. She treated me so wonderfully, like with such humility. Yeah. And it was really, I didn't expect that. And I wasn't looking for that, but she was so kind. And so that was one memory that I just remember. But moving into kind of, I left IFBB, and after 15 years, went to the WBFF. I hadn't won a show in 12 years, and I just needed something new from me. I needed to shake everything up and do something new. So 2010, which is here, went to the WBFF and ended up winning the figure world show there. And it was refreshing. So a lot of these girls and the girls that, were fans. The girl in the red right there was a fan of mine from the UK, super sweet girl. Yeah. And for the most part, I had a really great experience here. Only one girl who came in second was a little unhappy with me, who had been a fan, and she actually was very rude to me. But everyone else was super kind. And then moving into, I think 2016 was one of the oddest times for me. I went to the UK and competed there. I did 2 shows back to back, a week apart. One show I won and won the overall. The next show was NABA. And I was really actually excited about doing NABA because of its history. Yeah. But what they had at the time was they had 2 rounds for women, maybe 3. There was maybe a bodybuilding, a physique, and a bikini. And I really didn't fit in any of them, right? Like, I'm not physique and I'm not bikini, but so they put me in any round because I couldn't fit with the physique girl. Anyways, I ended up coming in second, and I felt like it was a little bit odd because I felt like they shouldn't have even placed me, to be honest, because it was a really bikini group. But when they called me out second, I listed all of these things that I had won and how big my name was. And then it was almost like they were saying the girl that beat me beat all of that. So I almost felt like I felt a little used by it, to be honest. And I felt like I shouldn't have probably have even placed in that category because all the other girls were bikini girls for the most part that were in the top 5. And, that was my last show to do. And, my husband and I had a wonderful European tour vacation afterwards. So whatever. But that was a kind of a weird show. And, but there was a lot of fans there from the industry and older people that, audience. And it was just kind of a really weird show for me. That one in particular. But For the most part, I think I've had a lot of really good experiences with the fans that were ended up to be on stage with me. I think overall,
but it's an interesting thing, because people, they look up to you and they admire you, and then it's almost like they don't necessarily want to get close to you. It's a very interesting dynamic, Michael works with a lot of, top athletes with this brand, and he sees it all. So for somebody who is dealing with that, Michael, what would your advice be to somebody who is competing with somebody who's admired them for a lot of years, and then they go on stage and they compete against somebody who idolizes them and then maybe beats them, and maybe the dynamic changes? Like, what would your advice be for that?
I mean, I always relate everything back to the brand. And, there's been many brands that I looked up to as a kid, looked up to as a young man. And, they were my favorite brands back then. And I feel like, the energy has shifted a little bit too, to where, we came in and, we planted our foot, and we, have some great excitement, some great growth with our brand. And, kind of to your story, it's like we kind of came out of that second place, and now we're like in a different position. And, it's I think it's part of the evolution, as Monica said earlier in the conversation. Things do change. Things don't stay the same forever. I think you just, along the way, whether it's competing or brands, I mean, you just got to have respect for everyone. With the brand, I know what it takes to get here. I totally respect all brands out there and all the hard work that an entrepreneur has to put in. It's endless hours. So regardless of size or placement, when it comes to competition as well, it's the same thing. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of endless hours, regardless of placing. I respect the individual. I respect the companies and the people that's behind this stuff. It's I just know what goes into it, and I think Monica can relate to that.
Right? I mean, we all work really hard, and you still, no matter how many people are on stage, everyone still has to put in a lot of effort to get there. And I think sometimes people's emotions overtake them, because some people are so competitive, right? And, a few years back, I did one of these strength finder testing deals for, like a leadership course I had taken. And one of the top 30 strengths was competitive. Well, everyone thought that was going to be in my top 5. Oh, you for sure you're going to be competitive. It was maybe in my in 20, like in the 20s for me for competitive. All of my top 5. So 3 of my top 5 personality strengths, were all had to do with building relationship.
Well, I have a question for you about this. Do you agree with the assessment?
I did.
In fact,
when I first started reading it, I got a little choked up, going, "Wow, something like somebody really understands me, and it's a computer." Because
they get me. This assessment gets me.
I know. Well, my number 1 strength said that I was a learner. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's me. It's like, I love the learning, the journey.
See, now that's interesting to me. This is fascinating to me, because this kind of doesn't make sense to me. Like, that you don't consider yourself to be competitive, because to me, it seems like you put your mind on something that you want, and you figure it out. You see a vision, you see what you want to achieve.
That was the learner in me, learning along the way, and also the relationship builder, because everything that I did and still do to today is about relationships. It's never been about money. Like, it's relationship over revenue. It's I can get walked on all day long, because I just care about people. I want to help. I want to network. I want to give. And I am very athletic. I cherish, I'm passionate about intense athletics, right?
Yeah.
Track, sprint, learning to drive in the drive phase, gymnastics. I had to learn the best I could learn, like hard workouts. Like, I don't want wimpy stuff. It's like, yeah, here you go. And then I got into Ninja Warrior training, and I did, here at the gym, I started doing American Ninja Warrior stuff, and I did that for 4 years. So my last shows that I did, I trained with American Ninja Warrior training for 3 days of the week.
Yeah.
I was on the track 4 days a week, and I only was in the gym 2 days a week for my last few shows. So this is in 2016, and that's how I got ready for my shows in 2016. Right. I was barely in the gym. Yeah, you got to go back and show that Ninja Warrior stuff. That's pretty cool. That gets me all pumped up. I'm like, yeah. I love anything intense. So the learner is what I strive in, and it was always about learning to be a better athlete, learn new skills.
Yeah.
Learn how to do something. Learn, what does it take to get my body to do what I need it to do? So, and then it was about building those relationships along the way too, right? So, and I got to run a track for a few years there, which I loved, the Masters USA stuff. So
we almost have everything in common. There's like one little tiny thing that we're not like identical in, and that is that I'm extremely competitive. I love building relationships, don't get me wrong, but I definitely feel, and that's actually been a downfall of mine, to be honest. So maybe I can ask you both some advice. I'm going to make this personal for a second, if you don't mind. I have two people I look up to here, and I'm going to just kind of ask, for some advice. So it's interesting because, for me, one of my downfalls has been putting so much pressure on myself, like to win, right? And I feel like that has caused me to definitely sabotage myself going in. And then when I take a step back and I just like let things happen, that's when I do my best. So for you, it's almost like you live in that mindset. You're not sabotaging yourself because you're looking at the relationships and the things that are happening around you. This is like a platform, right? So Michael, I'll ask you first. Okay, so what are your thoughts about like self-sabotaging? Because I know you're really competitive, and focusing so much on that outcome. And what are your thoughts about that? And then also Monica's perspective of, building relationships and not being competitive.
Well, I don't ever going to get the answer you want to hear. Like I'm like you. I just want to win. Like I want it all, and I want it fast. And but listen, as you get close to the finish line, I don't want to cross it. I just want to extend it. Yeah. And I just want to, as Monica said, just enjoy the journey. Yeah. But I have that fire inside to just want to keep winning on whatever task. And I think that's just, it's a human feeling. Yeah. Everyone wants to strive to do their best. And whether you define it as winning or just besting your best, you're just winning against yourself, honestly. And the other people are just, part of the audience in a sense. Because ultimately you're only responsible for yourself. But yeah, that's it. It's just, I have the same fire like you, but I don't want to cross the finish line on purpose. To me, that's when the race is over. And I just want to keep running like that track that Monica was on. Just keep running.
Yeah, I know. Badass. Mm-hmm. So I guess you've given your advice in your explaining your approach, Monica, but for athletes out there, for people who are trying to achieve a big goal, who are really, results oriented, seeing all the success that you've had, like what advice would you give to somebody who maybe self-sabotages themselves a lot? Because this is something that a lot of people can relate to.
So we have to take a step back and look at the industry that we're in, right?
Right.
Okay. Track all day long. I could win every day, every track meet. I could win if I get a PR, right? And I didn't have to win to get a PR. I could come in third or fourth and get a PR, and I'd feel like I won. Yeah. Because then it's for real. Like I got better. I could measure my results. Even today, I went to the track and I did quarters. Yay. And my first quarter was better than my last Friday first quarter by 20 seconds. Now, I'm not out there trying to be competitive, but that was a win for me today. It felt good to go. I was dying at the last little bit there. And I looked at my stopwatch and I'm like, well, no wonder felt like I was dying. I was 20 seconds faster. Like, okay, so we have something to measure and to have successes, and they can be small successes. The problem with our industry is that it's a subjective stage. Mm-hmm. You only can get up there knowing how much effort you put in. Did you do everything you could do to get to the stage and look the way you need to look? Did you do all of your, suits and like tanning, everything? Just, was it exactly the best you could do? And that's where you have to find in my opinion, find the value of that stage time, because we've both been there. Everything is where it needs to be. Don't win and you don't place in the top 3 or whatever. And all of the people, I remember one year I came in 2nd or 3rd again at the Olympia, and it was my birthday. And all the fans are coming through my line. And the question always is, why didn't you win? What happened? And I knew before the day started to be this, and my whole, and the more you hear that, the more it discourages you, right? Yeah. Because, well, number 1, I didn't win. Number 2, there's money that you didn't make, on stage, you think. And so I had to have a really good answer for these fans, right? Because I needed, number 1, to stay on top of my game for that day, to make all of my fans that are waiting in line for 2 hours nonstop throughout 8 hours of the day. I needed all of them to be leaving me better than they showed up.
So what was the answer?
My answer was, I don't know, but today's my birthday.
Even if it wasn't your birthday?
It was my birthday.
Oh. Well, what do you say it's not your...
I always had to find some way to, again, relationship over this, whatever the situation, it's not ever so bad that I can't look at something super positive going, this is why I do this. Yeah. Yeah. And to be honest, Wendy, after 98 and 99 Olympia, and I came back, and in 03 when I placed 2nd, honestly, from that point forward, all my figure IFBB years, I never really thought I would win a show. And you and I have talked about this. Yeah. And so I went on stage because it was part of what I did for my career and for what I felt God calling me to do, to continue my platform, to continue giving back, to have an athletic goal. But I never got on there going, I'm going to win this thing, right? And I didn't think that I was going to ever be allowed to win. So there's a difference there, right? Right. Because you get placed.
Right. You're like, it's a subjective thing. So you let go of what you didn't have control over.
Yeah. And so I had to find other way to really make it make sense to me. Yeah. And I still enjoyed doing the shows. I enjoyed the women backstage. I loved it. We made good friends back there. Yeah. I got to be good friends with promoters and backstage people and other athletes. And you enjoy, the guys and there's definitely, the sense of the journey is such a fun thing. The training of it, the magazines, and of course, back then that was everything, the magazine. So when social media started up, I was horrified that people were doing selfies and giving away their stuff for free because I'm like, how are we supposed to continue? Because the magazines hire you. They bring you in. They are made the stars. You didn't make yourself your own star. No one ever made themselves their own star. Yeah. And now it's so different now. So the social media thing is such a different ball game.
You gotta be a barracuda now, Monica.
I don't know. It's a lot.
Well, oh my gosh.
Monica, did that help you? Did that help you at all?
Yes, definitely.
Wendy, you know what? You get out there and you just pretend you're in a track meet, and you're doing everything you can to get your PR. And the thing for you is you just keep showing up on stage, rocking it like you do already. and
Mm.
you come out on the other side with your beautiful smile, and you and your husband are still in love, and your relationship is the more important thing than anything else, and you guys are caring for your athletes and you're encouraging your athletes, and that's the win for you every time. That's the win for you. And I know you would like to be in that Olympia on that stage bigger than ever, and you keep going with where you are. But I love how you are doing your piece of the fitness industry. I love it.
Thank you. I'm at peace right now, to be honest. I think that's kind of my secret right now. It was like I was, talking to Michael about how I feel like I'm kind of, so at peace. And this was going into my last show. And now I think that was what helped me win my show, was just kind of like letting go of what I don't have control over.
You can't control it. You can only control what, you're doing all these other things, but that's it. And that's okay. We don't have to control everything. We do what we can do. And you know what? I love the fact that you and Matt are so united in this.
Yeah.
It is so refreshing to see you guys together, and having been with you guys together in person now, I know it's legit, and it's really refreshing. So you guys, just whatever it takes to keep that where you have it and still be able to do this business is really unique.
Thank you.
So I applaud you guys, and it's an inspiration for sure to see that, because it's very rare.
Thank you, Monica.
And you already know that it's rare, but it is rare.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Oh, well, this has been so awesome, Monica. And Michael, I could talk to you forever, and you know this.
I know, and we have.
We literally could. But thank you so much. And everyone out there watching, Michael, final thoughts?
No, I do have a question for Monica.
Yeah.
Looking where you're at today and looking back, did you ever think this would evolve to where you're at today, back at a younger age? And if you didn't, and now that where you're at today, what advice would you give to others that may be in a similar situation that you was back, 20, 30 years ago?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I look back and know I had no idea. Absolutely none. My first magazine cover was, the right place, the right time. I didn't even know who Dennis Newman was. I mean, crazy. I went and bought, 10 or 12 magazines at the grocery store. Just crazy. So I knew nothing about the industry. And I think the biggest thing was because I really enjoy people, and I really enjoy building relationships, and I'm to talk to anybody. I was able to step into some really cool opportunities because I was bold. I came across in a, humble way, but I still put myself in a positions to be courageous and be bold and to speak what I was thinking or what I thought might be and people responded. I was this happened for me even in when I got my BSN contract. I called the company, and the only athlete they had at the time was Ronnie Coleman. And I called the company. I did. I called and I talked to Scott James. He was the owner at the time. I had worked for a guy that had a big nutrition store in Houston. Every year he'd bring me in for appearances, and he had a giant store. So every year bringing me in. And then one year we were talking, and BSN had just kind of gotten out and about. They were like the big, new supplement line. And Ronnie's in there. But the guy was owner of the store. He knew BSN owner, and he said something about, they're fans of yours or something like this, right? And I was like, well, give me his number. I should call him. Sure enough, I called getting my own contract. Yeah. I called them up and I said, y'all need a female. You ever thought about having a female athlete as a sponsored athlete? Because you got Ronnie, you need a girl. And I remember Scott's like, you think we need a girl? I'm like, hello? Yes, of course you need. So I ended up having an awesome contract with them. And I was the first female, BSN gal. And I think it was just all of these opportunities of I'm not afraid of people. So, you know, if you're new to this industry, like, be bold and courageous, but be humble at the same time. Right. And it's okay to have people say no to you. I had a lot of no's, but I had some really cool yeses.
Mm-hmm.
And still do, you know, and moving forward, I think this industry has so much positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's negative, like in any industry, you know, and people can get off on the wrong track with their health and wrong priorities. But if you allow the industry to, if you allow yourself to find the things and the good people and the good health and the longevity, like, anything's possible, really. And nowadays, you know, there's so many opportunities within within the thanks, within this industry. There's so many opportunities for different careers. Like, I mean, I don't even know of all of them, right? Like, there's so much out there. Oh, hi, Adriana. she's getting ready for a show coming up. But and I've really enjoyed getting to know a lot of the fans over the years. It's been fun. I think it's one thing with social media that's been kind of fun is just to hear some of these fun stories, getting to know people, and making new friends. But I am in the middle of writing a new book, so it's I don't have a title yet that I want to share, anyways. But I'm working on my new book, and it's basically about building your spirit and building your body at the same time. And I think so many people get lost in just building their body, and they forget about building their spirit, and the spirit ends up dead and the body is looking good, but their spirit is dead. And so you get this person that looks really good, but on the inside is vacant and depressed and has a lot of loneliness and sadness inside. So, and then there's people that are just building their spirit and forgot about the body. And you find a lot of people within the faith-based community that are out of shape and feel like it's a vanity to take care of their body. And I know that God calls us to do both.
Yeah.
You know, we are to build our body in a way, and we're to build our spirit. And my thought is, I think our soul is like a train on the track of life. And one track is this body, physical, and the other track is the spirit. And they have to go at the same time. Mm-hmm. Otherwise the track, shuts off and the soul gets lost. And our soul is where our mind, will, and emotions are. And if it gets lost, our emotions and our feelings take over.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what my new book is going to be about. And I'm working on that now. And I might be having a 7-day program that will come out with it as well. And so I got some new fun things going. And of course, Monica Brant show was a lot of fun for 3 years hosting that. I just kind of took a break for last year with that, but I loved it because what my goal was, I don't know, Michael, how much of that you saw, but my goal was to bring in old school legendary athletes and nutritionists and media people, and also bring in current new athletes. So that was really fun. I got to interview like Lee Haney. He said I was the first female interview he'd ever had. Steve Cardillo, Ronnie Coleman, Brandon Curry. Oh no, it was awesome. Yes. I got to interview Samsa Dowda. Did I say his last name? Right before he won the Arnold last year. It was fun. So really enjoy just giving back wherever I can. And that's obviously, Wendy, where you and I got to connect real well too, is our times interviewing.
No, I got to co-host that show with you. We got through the COVID together. That was that I think helped both of us get through. We did that together. I mean, I think consistently for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. I loved it.
So let me know when you get that back up and running.
Yeah. Will do.
My goodness gracious. Like I said, we could talk forever. This has been, Monica, this has been so great. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the honor and the time. Michael, thank you for having me on your show. And I just really always appreciate the love.
Well, there's a lot of love for sure. Yes. Awesome, you guys. Well, both of you, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the viewers, current and future watchers of this live show. This is WOLFpak TV. And for all of your backpack, meal management, duffel bag, anything that you need to carry your stuff in, come to WOLFpak and we have everything that you need. So until next time, we are out.